Now here's a phone that in many ways embarrasses the iPhone 16 Pro Max. It's an affordable flagship from Xiaomi, the 14T Pro, and it has some specs that are better than this phone that cost almost double the price. And the cameras, as I'll show you a little bit of in this video and my camera comparison, you'll see, actually go head to head with iPhone's top dog here, the 16 Pro Max. So the 14T Pro, it's got the MediaTek Dimensity 9300 Plus, 12 gigabytes of RAM, and a terabyte of storage. It has Xiaomi's HyperCharge, 120 watt wired, and it can fully charge in around 25 minutes, which is so much quicker than an iPhone. It's got the Hyper wireless charging too at 50 watts, and a screen that's 144 Hertz with a peak HDR brightness of 4000 nits. It also does have cameras on the rear that are 50 megapixels main, 12 megapixel ultra wide, and a 2.6 times optical zoom camera, 5000 milliamp hour battery. Well, the box is smaller straight away, I noticed that. The phone, obviously, I've already pulled that out of here, the box, and where's the charger? Okay, there is no charger. They decided to do an Apple, to do a Samsung, and that's not really that great, is it? So you'll see we've got our SIM tray tool right there, and if you open this up, we do have our Type-C cable, and it's Type A to Type-C. It does support 120 watt supercharging, they're fast charging, and I do happen to have one of those chargers, so later on I'll let you know just how fast it is. So you get a warranty card, quick start guide, and safety information there, and even a case. At least they didn't take the case out of the box, but not having the charger, especially a 120 watt one, yeah, not good, not cool, Xiaomi. So I have the Titan Grey version here, and I think it's not a bad looking phone. The back, the camera modules does look a little busy. We can see here that that's not even a camera, so it makes it look like it's got 4 on the rear. That's our dual tone LED flash. So we have an ultra wide, which is 12 megapixels, a 50 megapixel main camera, which is the Light Fusion 900 image sensor, f1.6. The telephoto camera, which is 2.6 times optical, 50 megapixels there as well, f2.0. The ultra-wide's f2.2 is a nice addition there, but I wish they'd made it 3 times, but obviously they couldn't quite make it within what they have and the price range and their price limitations on this more affordable Xiaomi 14 series model, 14T Pro. So within here, we've got a 5000 milliamp hour battery, 50 watt HyperCharge wireless charging, and then 120 watts from the Type-C port down below. But as I showed you, not included that charger, but I do have one at least. Now, there's no video out of this Type-C port. I could not get it to work, and I could get other phones to work, but this just didn't seem to work, and I don't believe they have it. Probably just on the flagship 14 series is where you'll get that. So it takes 2 nano SIMs, microphone, loudspeaker there. Frame is all metal. It feels very solid, good in hand. Overall, excellent build quality from Xiaomi. Our screen, which is an AMOLED, they call it their crystal res screen, so up to 144 Hertz, and it's a 1.5K screen. So the resolution is 2712 by 1220, which means it's not Quad HD. It's just over HD resolution. It looks sharp, and at 6.67 inches, even looking at it really close, you can't see pixels, so it's not bothering me that it's not Quad HD. What I love about it is it's completely flat, so very good. And of course, the colors look great on it because it is a AMOLED screen. So other things to point out too with it, that the camera here is 32 megapixels. And down, up the top, I should say here, we've got an IR transmitter and more antenna lines with that. Supports 5G. And we have the Dimensity 9300 Plus within this, 12 gigabytes of RAM, and a whopping 1 terabyte of storage with this model here that it goes up to, that I happen to have, and it's UFS 4.0 spec. So it's a 12-bit display, HDR10 Plus support, Dolby Vision, which is good, and it's certified for hardware blue light filtering. All up, excellent display. But what about the brightness? So their claim is 4000 nits, which I cannot measure, even running Dolby Vision with Netflix HDR content. Can't measure that. I measure just over 1200 nits, and it's a pretty standard brightness, but you can see now in direct sunlight that it fares very well And overall, I think it's a fantastic screen. It gets a big thumbs up from me and Xiaomi for selecting a flat panel and high refresh rate, good brightness, and that pulse width modulation is the big one for me. It's very high. Now we are running HyperOS, and I'm on the latest version here. As I go to check, it does not have any updates, so that is just version 1.0.5. This is, of course, based off Android 14. The security patch level is a little dated there from June, okay, which is a bit odd, but I'm sure they're going to have an update now once it's launched and released that will correct that. And the performance of the UI has been very good. I found that there's really no animation lags. It has really improved, and overall, really no complaints from me. It's good. The performance is fantastic, super fast. It feels as fast as my S24 Ultra, fast as my iPhone 16 Pro Max too, so no problems with that. And you can select to have all widgets, or you can use the apps drawer, which I do prefer. With the pre-installed bloatware we get from Xiaomi, nothing has really changed, and there's quite a bit. You can see AliExpress, Amazon Music, Facebook, TikTok. There's a lot that's on board, and it's not as easy to uninstall as it used to be. You could go with, at least with MIUI, I remember going into apps and then you had a bulk uninstaller. Doesn't seem to be there anymore, or perhaps they've moved it to a different place and I can't find it, but you can remove that stuff. So Widevine cert is level 1. And that means we do have everything in full HD, which is great. And how about the codec support? So this is with Netflix. Netflix has told me that it does support the HDR10, which is great. Dolby Vision, that's another big bonus because it looks excellent on the screen. And we've got VP9 and HEVC support there too as well, which is great. Not all phones will show all of this listed, and especially not at this price point and category. So it is excellent of Xiaomi that they've done that. The GPS on board with the Dimensity 9300 Plus is excellent. It only took 3-4 seconds to get the first lock when I first used it, and you can get accuracy down to 1 meter because they don't have that restriction like the Qualcomm chips do, restricted to 3 meters for consumer stuff. But here, because it's not an American chipset developer there, they can go to 1 meter, which is good. So throttling, how does it fare here? Well, we lost about 30% performance from that Dimensity 9300 Plus. This is after 20 minutes. You can see clearly that about the 7-8 minute mark, the performance dips. It goes on for quite a while before it starts to heat up a bit too much and then throttles down even further about the 16-minute mark. The phone does get a little warm on the back, but this is pretty standard, and this throttling, I don't think it's too bad compared to some passively cooled phones with Qualcomm chipsets that drop down to 50% here, or around 54%. Antutu score is very good, I think, for this chip, and you'll see the GPU performance is great. It is a little bit behind, but really not by much at all compared to, say, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, which would maybe get 2.2 million. This is just below 2.1, so perfectly fine. It's an absolute powerhouse. The storage speeds from UFS 4.0 spec that it has are excellent. I have the 1 terabyte of storage, and it has 12 gigabytes of RAM. So those speeds are fantastic. And even look at those sequential reads there and writes, very good. And even an AI read speed that is not bad at all, because AI is on board with this. And we do have Gemini. You'll see it in there. I don't really use it myself personally. There it is. But it's there if you wanted it and you wanted those AI features. Looking at battery life, this is PC Mark that I still like to test because it's a fixed test. Now, I set the same brightness on all the phones, and it just goes from 100%, and when it gets to 20%, it stops, but it's continuous. It's always the same exact fixed thing that it does do. So it would have been using 60 Hertz here because I had it set to the default refresh rate, so it'll scale up to 144, but for this app, it would have been running at 60, and that's how I got a result of 12 hours and 6 minutes, which is crazy good. But you're really looking about 10 hours of on-screen time, 9 to 10 hours if you set it to 60%. Now, if you're going to be running 144, I would say 7.5 to 8 hours at 144 Hertz, which is still very decent. Remember, it is a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. Now, luckily, I have a charger that is the Hypercharge 120 watt, its official Xiaomi charger, but it's not included in the box, but I happen to just have it, so I tested it out. Now, it stopped timing correctly, but it took 13 minutes to go from 19 to 64%, and it finished up in 26 minutes, the phone, which is really good. So if you happen to have a 120 watt Xiaomi hypercharger, then you can get these blazing fast charging rates. Gaming performance of the 14T Pro is very good thanks to that Dimensity 9300 Plus. It doesn't really lag that much at all. Genshin Impact on the absolute top settings here, not really a problem. The phone gets slightly warm, and Xiaomi does have this game turbo mode. So you can swipe from the top here to bring it up, and it'll tell you the frame rate. So you can see it before and after there. According to this, it was 40 frames per second before. Well, that's just some of the dips that I do occasionally see now and then. But most of the time, it is running really well, super smooth. So all of the demanding new titles out there, they're all going to run just fine here on the 14T Pro. Okay, so for audio, we don't have 3.5mm support with this headphone jack, sadly. And we've got the dual loudspeakers, so earpiece down below. Volume's okay, and before I give you this sample, just wanted to point out the haptics. It's semi-okay. The pulses aren't that strong. It's nothing like the K30 Pro Zoom that I have, or the Poco F2 Pro. I think the haptics in those still are one of the best from Xiaomi that I've ever tested out. But now the sample, so I'll play this at 100% volume, so you can just hear what the speaker's like. So I have a dedicated video that's a camera comparison between this phone and the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Selfies look better with the 14T Pro, which is a big surprise. Portraits using the Leica portrait mode. It turns out that, well, the iPhone I think is a little bit better. But then some of the HDR shots with the main camera came out better with the 14T Pro versus the iPhone, which is a big surprise. And even using 2x digital zoom, I saw that the Xiaomi came ahead. You can see it's a much sharper image, more details are captured, maybe a little bit over sharpened. The zoom camera couldn't of course compete with the 5x optical of the iPhone, but using half digital, half optical, I think it did alright, the Xiaomi 14T Pro. And it even got embarrassing for the iPhone because this is a much cheaper phone. The iPhone is very expensive. And the Xiaomi didn't suffer from the terrible lens flare issues that I saw with this night shot mode. I think for Apple, they should really be ashamed of the performance they have with some of the shots. As for video, the iPhone did come out on top with better stability. Now the microphones in the Xiaomi do sound better than the iPhone, another big surprise, unless it gets really windy. Xiaomi, they have a bit of an issue with the wind noise. It's not filtered correctly, and I can't find in the settings any wind noise filtering option, which is a shame. But if they can fix that, the video quality is very respectable, again factoring in the price tag. So I think Xiaomi's done a fantastic job with this phone. We have a really good screen with great brightness, very fluid. It's flat, AMOLED, sorry. And it does look really stunning. The UI performance is really good. I'm not seeing any lag. Yes, there's a bit of bloatware on first boot. There is no included charger in the box here, well, at least not with my European version. I don't know whether Xiaomi will be bundling it when you pre-order. That could be possible. In other regions, you might have the charger because different countries have different laws. Some, you have to have it included in the box. But here, I just don't have it, which is a real shame because it's 120 watts. So there's areas that this phone does really well for the price point. And as I've shown in my camera comparison and very briefly in this review, that there are some of the photos I took with the 14T Pro that did better the iPhone 16 Pro Max, which seems crazy really. It embarrasses the iPhone, I think, in some areas with what it does offer. Now the fast charging is definitely one of those things that does embarrass the iPhone. Not hard to do nowadays anyway, the wireless charging. And it does have a really good, decent battery life. And the gaming performance as well is fantastic. Antutu scores of, they claim around 2.3 or 2.2 million. I'm just under that, even using the performance mode. But this phone, I think, is another example of where Xiaomi does shine, and that is their more affordable models, and this being a affordable flagship from them. It covers all the bases, but of course we are missing two 3.5mm headphone jack, no micro SD card support. But if you want a phone that I think is very well balanced, all-rounded, cameras, and also packing some decent performance, battery life, then this is it. The Xiaomi 14T Pro. I really do think they're back, and I want to see more offerings like this from them. I just hope that with firmware updates, they can allow us to swap over the cameras when you are using 4K 60 with the rear cameras, and if they could improve upon that audio quality with video. It was affected quite a bit with wind noise, as you'll see in the camera comparison, so make sure you do check out that video from me, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.